Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 103. My name is Evan Lewis. I am, of course, joined by another person, but it's not Leo or Joe. It is the wonderful patron, the returning commentator, the official photographer, the chief world builder at Encounter Time, Christian Sorrell.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
It's great to be back again. Yes, I'm also the knight from Padawan Knight of the Master. People might know.
Oh, and Gilder the droid.
Oh, yes.
You are immortalized in art now.
That's true. Yes, I was very honored by that. One of my favorite RPG characters of the last many years, probably, honestly.
And we, of course, if you are listening to this, you probably saw the title of the episode, so you know what you're getting into, or maybe you just blindly clicked on something and you don't even know what you're getting into. But before we get to the mystery meat of the episode, we're going to talk about our patrons. And we have one right here. He's a patron, so thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I paid you so that you would have me on the show today, and it worked.
It's a perk. You know what? There are perks to this.
The main perk to being a patron from my standpoint is that when you guys are recording, I get to go into the chat and just try to riff enough that I make you laugh while you record. That's my thing that I like.
We do love it as well. Just making us crack up. And I'm sure listening to it, it's just like, what are these jokers laughing about? And then trying to explain the joke is like trying to explain an SNL skit. It just does not work.
Yeah.
But
after
it is
the
greatly
fact, it's a
appreciated.
little goofy.
It is. But it's great in the moment. Well, and if you're a patron, you can join in too. You can listen in live. Like maybe some folks will do here in a second. We didn't give them much of a heads up, but if you're on our Discord server, that's where you can listen to us. And anyone can join the Discord. In fact, if you go to jodocast.com, you can find a link to our Patreon and the Discord server and our Legion Builder app, because Legion is pretty great. I'm becoming more familiar with it. I'm understanding more of how it works, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Well, more about that later. But jodocast.com, patreon.com/thejodocast. Go to our Discord. We're on there all the time. When insomnia hits, we're there to say hi. I'm not sure that's a great slogan.
It's an attempt at a motto for sure.
It is. That's the subtitle of the podcast. For when you can't sleep, listen to us. Oh, and of course, I was trying to think, what's the rest of the housekeeping? We're going through this so quickly. Wherever you listen, we're on, I don't think we're on Pandora. We tried, but they were just like, you're not cool enough. You're not alternative enough.
They take really limited stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, but Spotify is pretty good. I like them. And yeah, wherever else you listen, leave us a comment, rating, or review. We don't talk about that enough, but it does help a lot. So go there and say things. It's appreciated. And you know what? I think it's worth doing a what we've been playing before we get to the big topic. Because you filled in your little section here and you got a lot.
I do. It's not all been in the last week, but I figured since we are going to talk about a thing that involves playing lots of games, I'll talk about the games that I have been playing lately. So, people probably know at this point, if they've listened to my few other times I've been around, that I'm kind of like the role-playing game person primarily. So, and because, we're going to be talking about a time in which a lot of games get released, I was going to talk about I've been playing lots of role-playing games as always, so weekly and there's sort of our monthly big D&D sessions, so we've been continuing on the 5e train there, mostly doing homebrew stuff. I've been playing Fate of Cthulhu. You played that with us, that one trial. It's like sort of based on Fate, but it's kind of like a Terminator meets Cthulhu thing, and that was really fun, and I want to get back to it.
It's so interesting and such an original take, even though all like the themes are familiar. it's so great, and Fate works perfect for Cthulhu.
Yeah, it's very fun because it's like, hey, the world ends, and at least someone in your party has been sent back from the future, and you have to save it, and you kind of know that these like 3 or 4 just defining events happen, and you need to go stop them. So it's a very like action-y take on that sort of end of the world vibe, which is fun. And in like sort of more tabletop game, I guess I've been getting really into Magic Arena. Actually, I was very into whatever the good one that they put out on Xbox 360 like years ago was. That was like the first digital Magic the Gathering I really liked. Like it was 2008 or something. It was like forever ago at this point, 2010. And I've tried a few others they put out, so I was just skeptical and I didn't even play this because I felt like they made a handful that weren't great. But it's very good. It's like a very good adaptation of Magic. You get a lot of like you get a steady stream of cards without spending money. It feels like super generous in terms of that free to play thing compared to other games I've played. So that's been, I know it's not real tabletop, but that's what I've been getting most of my card or board game time in. I've been playing that like, a handful of games every day.
You've got one more thing on there.
Oh, I do. Yeah. It's not playing, but it's reading. I was going to say playing with my mind, but that's all games, I guess. Yeah. I've also been reading my first Star Wars novel. I've been reading Alphabet Squadron because it was just, I was thinking about it because a lot of people on the JodoCast Discord, right, were always talking about what they're reading and different books, and that was like the one that was just about to come out, and
I have yet to pick it up, but
yep, it was just about to come out. So I saw people speaking positively of it, so I was like, that's the one I'm going to jump in on. It seemed pretty standalone, it wasn't like part 3 in a series or like anything. It just seemed like, hey, this is a book, you could pick it up and read it. And yeah, I'm just a little bit of ways into it at this point, like just a handful of chapters. But if anyone listened to Padawan Knight and the Master would know, and Evan, you would obviously know because you were on there with me, I would say I'm already pretty impressed with I'm already liking how much it gets into the sort of like material aspects of like the rebellion and like in the first 30 minutes of reading that book, I got more information about what the new Republic was than like anything in the mainline saga movies told me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay, this is like what it's like for someone leave the fall of the Empire and someone jumping ship from the Empire to the rebels, and what does that really look like as they become a republic? And so I'm very into that sort of like the politics side and that like what does it look like for these people on the ground, and so far that's been like pretty much what the whole book's about. So it's cool, it's very fun. I'm happy to read it. It might lead me down a rabbit hole if I end up really liking it, where then people are recommending the Thrawn trilogy, and I don't even know anything about Thrawn because I haven't watched the Rebels or whatever show he was on. And, so yeah, so it may lead to a long love of Star Wars books, but it's been fun so far.
Yeah, the only other one that really sticks at the forefront of my mind that I think you would enjoy is Bloodlines, because it's all about the latter-day politics of the New Republic and like people beginning to think fondly of, oh, remember how orderly the Empire was? Oh, those were the days.
The Empire made the trains run on time.
Exactly. There you go. Oh, they had such good engineering, things like that. And Leia, still in a senatorial role, having to deal with a lot of that and a lot of other little tidbits, giving hints about the future of what we know is going to happen and they don't know is going to happen yet. So that's a really good one.
Yeah, there was a little bit, I feel like this is just first few chapters, so I would say it's not really a spoiler or anything, but there was a little funny bit in this where, like some pilots or something are like shooting off, and it's a very like wink at the camera type moment where they're talking about like, what do you think they're going to do? Build a third Death Star? Ha ha ha, that'll never happen. And then it's like, that's basically what happens. But that's funny. Yeah, that was kind of fun. It's cool because it takes place like right after Return of the Jedi. So it's also just a cool setting. I bet that's like within the soldiers, there's like, like other, like if you were a soldier who was at the Battle of Endor, that's like everybody wants to know about it. Everybody wants to hear because it was like the battle. And yeah, so it's been pretty cool. I'm having a positive time with it for sure.
Cool. I'll have to pick that one up too. Let's see here. For me, I mentioned I've been playing Legion against myself, but still trying to get the hang of it so that I can better teach other people in a way that makes sense. So we're not having to do the traditional Fantasy Flight, open up the instructions. Oh, wait, it's the other instruction booklet. Let's grab that one. Oh, it's the PDF only one. Okay, look up the PDF. Paragraph Z, and, I think we've done that for pretty much every single FFG game.
We have.
Yeah.
It's not a great experience. I mean, it's not the worst learning experience a tabletop game has given me, but it's not the best either.
Yeah. And been painting a lot. I've just finished up Legion Chewy with contrast paints, and it literally took me, I don't know how many minutes. It was literally minutes from the point that he was primed with the appropriate primer and then just slapped on the few colors. Like, he looks done. I could do more, but I don't feel the need to. I just want to finish him off and yep, he's ready to go.
Yeah, almost all the contrast paint stuff you've shown off, because I know they showed some of it when it was first being promoted or whatever, but all the ones I've seen that you've actually done are pretty impressive, considering it's just like, oh, I just did 2 coats of this and that's it. And yeah, they look really good from my very layman's, I've painted 1 mini in the last 2 or 10 years probably.
I don't know. I've never won any competitions. You have.
Well, yes, but I've rusted greatly over time.
And I'm working on Bosk now too, and he's got a little bit more to do color-wise, but and detail-wise, but he's also really easy. Both of them are just perfect for contrast. So they look really good, and I finally have full-strength armies for, I almost said Republic, Rebels, and Empire. Because I've got 2 commanders, I've got 3 core units, 1 operative each, 1 special forces group each, and 1 mech unit each. So, yeah, with upgrades, they're at 800 or almost 800 points. So ready to go.
Well, we will have to get around a table soon and do a full army fight, because you and I have only done the box set starter core set or whatever against each other, and that was a little underwhelming for your big Star Wars battle.
It's definitely a different experience playing 1 core box rather than a full size army. 2 core boxes probably would have done the trick, honestly. If you were going to split it with someone, I mean,
yeah, at least just you just need. It seems like we needed a bigger level of scale than we had, which is half the fun in minis games, in my experience. Right? You want to have the huge army with tons of minis. That's the fun thing about playing those.
And I think that's really it, because you mentioned all the D&D and the Cthulhu's and all of that, and I was a part of that. So
yeah, we've been putting out our Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, the original sort of Cthulhu RPG episodes of our podcast. So I haven't really played that recently because that was a few months ago, but I've been thinking a lot about that game again because we've been putting out those episodes of Encounter Time. So yeah, mostly just RPG thing. Here in the next week, I'm probably going to buy 5 or 6 books of new games that are coming out. So it's going to be on the mind for me.
And that's a great segue. It's like you knew what was coming, because we are going to talk about GenCon, the best 4 days in gaming, at which you at least will be buying lots of books.
Yep.
And
it's the launch, the launch weekend of the tabletop industry. But yeah, role-playing games are no exception. There's probably 4 or 5 books that are first available at GenCon that I'm planning to pick up.
So you and I have done this episode, the a visitor's guide to Indy, basically, for the past couple years.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
So I wanted to try to find a way to make this one at least slightly different in format. Because I feel like the last 2 years is basically just like, oh, there's these restaurants, there's these other neighborhoods that you should go to. And I feel like that was kind of it. We were just kind of vague on the con experience, because part of it is like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, like to do the con survival guide, because you can find tips on that everywhere. But GenCon is definitely a different experience, and I wanted to talk a bit about what last year was like, because you and I had talked beforehand, then I got to talk with Leo because he stayed with me. We did a show every night, but then I don't think you and I did any sort of retrospective look from last year.
No, not really. I mean, last year was definitely my first year, despite living near Indy, or in Indy, that, like, last year was the first year that I've been, like, all in, where I was like, I'm getting a 4-day pass, I'm taking the whole, like, that whole time off work. I'm going to treat it like an out-of-town convention or something. Like, let's do the whole thing. We're going to drive down every day and go. So it was definitely a much fuller Gen Con experience than previous years. But, yeah, I mean, I think that it's very, very fun. It's very good and open. I think it can just be super overwhelming, which is probably some of the same stuff we said last year. But after kind of, setting aside a few key events and things I wanted to hit last year, and then just kind of winging it the rest of the time and having a ton of fun with that, I've just kind of embraced the, I don't need to endlessly scour through the event listings. Most of the things that I really care about I'm going to find through other social media channels and stuff, like, oh, this podcast I love is going to record. they're probably going to say they're at Gen Con, and I'll find out. And then, the other stuff, just I'll fill the time with, different groups of people I know, or maybe I'll just be walking past a game and see some people playing it. And, we have some hours to kill. So, hey, let's sit down and play the new, version of whatever. Like, I played Scythe for the first time last year, and we just had random people come up and join. A guy was like, whoa, is that Scythe? I've never played that. Can I play? Do you guys have a spot? And we were like, yeah, we got a spot. You can sit down. We just played Scythe for 4 hours with this random guy, and it's definitely not weird at all. So that's one of the coolest things, I think, is that I think some people go in with very specific event planning, and you can definitely do that. But I actually had a lot of time just having a lot of sort of big blocks of free time, if that makes sense, and then just finding things to play or do, or being with a friend group where you can be like, hey, someone bought this game, let's go find a table and play it, or like just like that, walking past and being like, I've always wanted to play this game. Do you guys have 2 spots? Yeah, we only have a group of 3 and it can play 6. Okay, awesome.
So yeah, we've talked about that before, where a lot of people coming in might try to do everything and fill up their time with tournaments and organized play. But I think we'd mentioned that, at least my suggestion, I think your suggestion too, would maybe be to find things that you wouldn't necessarily get to do at home. And as far as like our favorite events from last year, and do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your favorite event was probably the independent RPG. I'm not sure what the whole name of it was, but you got to just like grab a ticket for a time slot and play some very random RPG.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely out. It was definitely outside of the sort of realm of things like any of the bigger company license stuff. But yeah, let me see. I want to find the name really quick while we're thinking about it. But yes, there is an area basically run. It's volunteer run, like all volunteer GMs or whatever their various games calls, the Game Master. And it's basically all independent games or role-playing games that aren't like the company that made them doesn't have like official GMs there running it in the way that like D&D or Pathfinder does. And basically the way it's treated is like I don't know, like a old style deli. It's like you come up and take a ticket, and then they go, okay, come back at the turn of the hour. If you get it at 1:30, come back at 2, and then at 2 they just call everyone with an A ticket, call everyone with a B ticket, call everyone with a C ticket, and you come up and just check yourself into a slot. So you can't know for sure that like, oh, I want to play Blades in the Dark. You don't know for sure if that's going to come up, or by the time your ticket comes up, if it will be filled for a 2-hour or 4-hour slot. But there are going to probably like 6 or 7 other really interesting games that you've maybe never heard of, or that you're never going to have another chance to play. So you just kind of put yourself out there and go in on one. Like I played a game called Psy Run that was like PSI Run that was like, think, teen X-Men on the run from like the, like fascist thug government, masked soldiers with batons, and it's like you just flee, and as you're fleeing you like build your character backstory, and it all plays out like a little like young adult X-Men movie or whatever. And that was awesome, and it's from like 7 years ago, and it was really limited print, and it's the kind of thing that our GM just loves it, and so he volunteered to run it for the weekend, and I probably wouldn't have ever even known about it otherwise.
Do I also remember correctly that one of the other games there was Tech Noir, or is that just the kind of game that you would see there?
Tech Noir, I think, was being ran there. Also, yeah, I mean, I would say the most mainstream or the most like well-known games that were being run there were like Blades in the Dark, which is probably one of my favorite RPGs of the last few years. Mm-hmm. A Quiet Year, which is like almost not even a role-playing game; it's more like a story game about a city, or about like, a society before the fall. So you get into more like those experimental, like story games, things that are like really light mechanics or just like really specific, like a role-playing game. One of them there that I didn't get a chance to play was just about like, it's like you're like a touring punk band in a fantasy setting. It's like you're a band of goblins, like a punk band of goblins going around, and I wanted to play it.
Crazy.
It's like the kind of game that's built specifically for like, this is the one sort of kind of story you tell in this game. But it's really cool. And importantly, I guess for a lot of people, it was all free, which is awesome. It was, let me see here. I have the name. It is Games on Demand. That's why I forgot it, because it's not the most stick out there games, but it's a whole section in one of the hotels attached to the convention center. And that's basically what it was. You could just come up, you put your name in for something, and 2 or 4 hour sessions. It may have taken it was either free or very cheap. I can't remember. It may have taken a generic ticket, so like $2 for a 4-hour session or something. So that was my biggest recommendation. If you're like me and kind of a role-playing game nerd and you want a chance to experience a bunch of weird, it's like the equivalent of going to like a weird indie music festival where it's like, oh, wait, you mean if I spend a day here, I can get a chance to play, 5 or 6 completely new to me RPGs I'd never experienced, which is kind of just how I'd rather spend my time than like D&D or something that I play a lot at home in a standard setting.
Or like a homebrew beer festival. It's like, try this weird concoction I made in my basement. Yeah,
and maybe you love it and you spend the next 2 years tracking down another 6-pack of it or whatever. And the cool thing is, though, because it's volunteer, and basically the people who volunteer put their own, like they submit the game they want to run. You're playing with normally very experienced GMs who are really passionate about it. Like they want everyone to love these games. So you kind of, it's a very good atmosphere too.
Yeah, I think I would hope that the amount of toxicity, you hope it's low everywhere, but I feel like it would be even less so at an event like that.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think a lot of people are coming in with pre-existing knowledge of these games, and they're also just the type of games that kind of avoid, I would say like kind of the power gamer subtype of person who plays role-playing games. Like there aren't a lot of people being like, oh, I min-maxed my dying kingdom in A Quiet Year or whatever. That's not really how those games work. It's more about narrative than mechanics.
For me, my favorite events from last year, I spent a lot of. I feel like I spent a lot of time doing organized play or semi-organized play of 2 different Star Wars card games, since it was the swan song of Star Wars living card game. Rest in peace. So I had to participate in that, and that took a good chunk of Friday, I think it was. And then Saturday evening, I think it was a big chunk of that was Star Wars Decipher CCG, which is just put on by attendees. It's no longer being produced. So seeing people doing a tournament themselves, running a small, 8-person cube draft of a dead game with a bunch of homebrew cards.
Yeah, that was actually, I didn't play in it, but I was hanging around while you guys were playing it, and that was honestly one of the coolest, and I kind of think one of the most GenCon things I experienced, in the way that it's
GenCon.
Yeah, well, it's taking advantage of the fact that GenCon is this huge pool of people, and it's what's something that maybe appeals to a few dozen of those people, right? Something that you couldn't hold that at a local game shop, because you'd get you and your friend who are really into the old CCG. You wouldn't get enough people to do a real tournament. And it was so cool though, seeing all their home, because I was wait, these guys have Kylo Ren cards and stuff. I was what's happening? And they all looked they looked really well made and were sleeved and everything. And so that was really cool to see this group of people loves this game enough that they they've just kept making it. They're oh, the company's not making it, we're just gonna keep making it, and we're gonna hold a tournament for it. And they had prizes, and it was hysterical. It was cool.
Yeah, that was very neat. I think that was maybe my first win in CCG against Leo, so retired champion. But every year I say my favorite events are the shows, the Gamers Group, Zombie Orpheus Dead Gentleman put on a stand-up comedy, or not stand-up comedy, but a improv comedy
performance.
Yeah. So just getting to see people up on stage, whether it's a seminar, giving a talk on a topic related to something that you are passionate about, is something you definitely can't get at home. Or seeing a performance piece is, again, something you can't get at home. So I always recommend and thoroughly enjoy those. I guess this is really two parts of one, two parts of one question. I was going to ask you what your favorite games were that you found that you hadn't necessarily been looking for, and then what your favorite purchases were. So maybe your favorite thing you found, you totally didn't expect to ever see this. You weren't looking for it, but you bought it because it was just so good. I guess that's 2 questions wrapped up in one.
Well, I would say definitely the oddest thing that I found that I ended up buying. We may have talked about on one of the Gen Con podcast things last year, but it was just a random game we demoed on the expo floor called Dinosaur Tea Party. That was not a game that I would I would have really looked at. I would have just overlooked it. And it's just kind of a really goofy little party game where it's kind of a social version of Guess Who, where you're acting in character and you have to use a British accent to figure out which dinosaur you are at this. So it's a little bit role playing, but mostly this is a joke, with trying to figure out which deduce which dinosaur you are at this tea party. But that was one that we demoed, and the next day I liked it enough that I went back and bought it, and I think Leo also bought it.
Yes, he did.
And so that was definitely
$20.
Yeah, it was just cheap and a fun little thing, but that was the thing that I never would have even been on my radar. I would just sort of moved past it if I'd seen the name or seen it on a shelf in a game store. So that was definitely cool. Then probably my favorite game I bought there was, I actually bought my copy, I believe, of Blades in the Dark there. Scum and Villainy came out, which is like a hack.
I was going to say, that was the other big one.
Of Blades in the Dark, which I've not gotten a chance to play very much. I've definitely read through the book, and I really, really, really would like to get a chance sometime to play a proper, multi-session campaign in it. We played it one night out of GenCon, and it was very fun. And yeah, those were pretty cool. I found a game that one of my friends from out of town asked me to pick up for him. That I cannot remember the name of, but it was basically like a book, a role-playing game, sort of like tabletop book version of like an old text adventure that was really cool. It had rules where like one person was the computer and you would read the prompts, and then it went in a circle around the table where it would be like, okay, the person to like going clockwise person would say like go north. And then the person who's the computer reads that prompt, and then the next person gets to choose. And it was kind of all these like Zork style, like a book full of like all these little mini adventures. And one's fantasy and one's a horror movie. And that was just something I'd never heard of. So it's just like, it's so easy to stop at tables and just find whatever kind of game you like that you've probably never heard of, because there's so many companies and people out doing it. And they're probably at Gen Con because it's kind of the one big thing for that, like the one biggest thing.
Unless you're looking for Bubble Gumshoe, and then good luck.
That was impossible. There were some strangely impossible to locate RPGs, but that's okay. I've got a lot of new RPGs to buy this year.
Let's see here. My favorite finds / purchases from last year. I was very happy that we got a chance to demo Thornwatch, I'm still not sure how to describe it. It's a fantasy semi-RPG, semi-board game, semi-card game from Penny Arcade. I might have mentioned that. And it's been in development for many years, and it actually finally released last year. We got to demo it, and I was so happy with it that I bought the core game and the expansion. They didn't get me to buy the like acrylic,
the mega edition or whatever.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed what we played. I haven't busted it out since because I was cursed with a love of minis and painting maybe a month afterwards. And when our group gets together, it's usually like, okay, continue the D&D campaign.
Yes, continue the stories we already have going, yeah.
Yeah, so one of these days, maybe this week, because I think of the group that played Thornwatch last year, I think it was just you and me and Leo.
I thought we may have played it one other time. I remember some other people playing with us once. But yeah, that was a very cool game. I didn't know anything about it, just not really following Penny Arcade or anything at all. So it was definitely interesting, kind of like a RPG in a box kind of game. But at the same time, like if you aren't into role-playing games, I would say it's very easy to not engage with that. Like there's a few light mechanics where it's like you get rewarded if you play to your character. But you could also just be like, I'm just thinking of this as like a tactical game with my little pieces on the board and trying to kill the monsters in the best way possible. So yeah, but I think it's definitely a really cool like setting. It has a cool mood, and all the art looks very nice, and the sort of the way that it has like the way that the AI runs the board is cool.
And I had another question on here, another bullet point from last year about our favorite thing that we did sort of outside of the confines of the convention itself. And for me, I guess we've been sort of mentioning it, how after we would leave downtown, we'd go back to usually your place and play some of the games that we got. And we did that several nights.
Yeah, and
had pizza.
Yeah, and I mean, we have kind of the luxury of having like our own apartments and stuff like nearby, but there's tons of free table space like at the event and at any of the nearby hotels that are all taking part in it too. So I mean, you could really just sit down anywhere. But that's some of the most fun I had, was just being like, if you're in a group with a group of people, just like chill out and play games, because that's my favorite part about kind of being there is just taking like those days off work, and you kind of almost get to go into that, like, you get to emulate a little bit of like, you know, summers growing up where it's like you and your friends could just sit around and like just play board games for 3 days because you didn't have any other response. It's like, right, it's like we're all chasing that kind of time in adulthood. So it's nice to just have some like you said, like, let's just get a pizza and just sit down and play a board game for like 4 hours. Who cares? You know, like we've got like 4 full days. What's, you know, 3 hours of Arkham Horror gonna really it's not really taking a big dent out of the time altogether, and that's might be the most memorable thing you do just because it's the most relaxed.
Next, I think we at this point in the past years we would have gone on to, well, what should people eat this year and where should they go, and we'll get to that, but I feel like some PSAs are in order because I don't know if it's the city of Indianapolis who had this great idea or if it was people who hate games, because
there's a cabal of anti-gamers.
Probably, you know what? Probably. Yeah. Looking at some of the people who make Indiana laws, they probably
the anti-tabletop gamer cabal.
That's right. They're the ones who keep publishing Chick Tracts and that that advertisement that says if your child is into witchcraft, the comic books, the Dungeons and the Dragons, they are going to hell.
It was Chick himself.
He is the Force. He's not actually dead. He is living on through the Indianapolis government. Although the city of Indianapolis is pretty good. It's the state that's a little wah-wah.
Yeah.
But somebody decided this would be a great weekend to not only work on some of the major highways and byways, but to shut them down. And we are having to, as we are recording, consult some of the websites from the local news and Department of whatever to tell you exactly what ones are going to be messed up. Because if you're coming from the airport, you are, no matter how you cut it, you're going to be traveling into the red zone.
Yeah. As I understand it, essentially the main highway from the airport to downtown, so from where you fly in to where you're probably going or near where you're staying, or if you're renting a car or driving in, you may also just be happening to come that way, is basically just closed the whole weekend, which just means you're going to need to plan more drive time because you're going to have to take, one of the other roads that goes farther around and approach downtown from a different angle. So it sounds like it could be kind of a nightmare. If you aren't planning, if you're like, ooh, we've got an event at 10, let's leave at 9:30 or something like that. You know, if your hotel's on the edge of the city, you're not in that core, you didn't get in that core housing area too. It's like, well, depending on what way you're coming from, it could just take you considerably longer to get down there.
Yeah, I was going to try to read off some of the major bullet points. There's a couple of full closures, and then there's some lane restrictions. I think what I'll try to do is provide links in the show notes, and then also via our Twitter, we will share those out. And I don't want to say, like, this is breaking news that nobody else is talking about, but I think we do have a unique perspective on what people should expect when they fly in, and they're like, why is it taking an extra hour to drive a mile?
Yeah. I mean, the thing from the official people, they said expect an additional 5 to 15 minutes of travel time. So I would probably say, give yourself 20 or 30.
Definitely.
Because I would say whatever they say is probably a little the most positive outcome. But especially even if you're Ubering or lifting, it's just like that stuff might just all take longer than you'd think. But it shouldn't be the end of the world, really. There's like several other big roads that get all around that same area.
And I would say in general, Indianapolis is pretty easy to navigate if you are doing the driving yourself. So there are multiple ways to get where you want to go. Just make sure to allot extra time. A second PSA that is also relevant is that since Lyft, the other Uber that I don't think is
Lyft, the other
Uber.
That's what they love to be called.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they hear it all the time. It's like calling Borders Barnes & Noble, except Borders no longer exists. Where was I? Oh, yes, Plan 2. Lyft offers GenCon discounts. They have partnered. They're the official rideshare of GenCon. So take advantage of some codes. If I were you, I would just make an account on the Lyft app. And I've always had good experience with Lyft.
Yeah, I have as well in the city.
Yeah, much better than Uber, in my opinion, and less controversial. But if you make an account, you'll probably get a bunch of coupons coming your way if it sees where you are. I mean, you kind of have to turn on location status to use that app. So
it's actually kind of amazing. It says, so if you don't have an account, if you download the app and you enter code Game Master, you get some like $5 coupon things. I just love that it's Game Master.
They know their audience. I'm sure they've done their market research. What are words that these people use?
If you're not a Game Master and you enter it in though,
oof,
they'll find you.
The other code is just a player. No, it's not.
Game Masters only.
You have to show your official Game Master badge. I think they have those actually. If you are a GM, an official one for the convention.
Get one.
Oh, now my cat's yelling. I'm gonna kick you out in a minute, cat. So yes, GenCon discounts for Lyft. It's very good. I would recommend doing that. If you're staying downtown, if you're not staying downtown at one of the connected hotels or a nearby one, you can, I wouldn't say easily find a hotel, but I mean, it won't be an absolute zero chance like it would be downtown, but they'll certainly be filling up if you go to one of the surrounding suburbs. But again, the commute is not bad. Okay, I'm kicking the cat out. Right back.
He wants to join the conversation.
Yes. Cat's gone. In short, the drive from any of the suburbs where you can find a hotel room is not going to be bad. Just allot that time to get there. Best parking, I would say, is at the Circle Center Mall, which is connected to the Indianapolis Convention Center, and then the Eiteljorg Museum, which is right across the street from one of the entrances. And as long as they haven't decided to charge exorbitant prices, they are like $5 for the day, I think. And you just walk across the street.
But yeah, I think the main thing is you have to get there early. Like, make sure you aren't showing up at like 11.
Yeah.
In our experience, it was like, we'd get up pretty early, get together, sort of drive down there. And we were parking at like, 8:30 a.m. and it was still getting there. So yeah, you want to definitely try to be an early riser if you can, if you're having to drive and park every day.
There's also Gate 10 Parking, which is the name of the place and the company. They are another parking partner for GenCon. They're located south across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium, and it's immediately off I-70. So that's one of those problem highways that we're talking about. But you just hop right off the highway, and it's literally there. It's just right there on your right. They're usually pretty good. You'll want to get your parking pass sooner rather than later. And I think they do have a shuttle. They usually do have a shuttle for conventions, and then it takes you all the way to the north doors where all the hotels are, but you can literally walk into Lucas Oil Stadium because that's part of the venue now, and then take the tunnel to get to the rest of the convention, and it saves you waiting on a shuttle and having to make room for other people. So it's not bad at all. And as far as Lucas Oil Stadium itself offering parking, I mean, I couldn't find anywhere that said yes, absolutely, but then I also couldn't find anything that said no, we'll tow you.
Yeah, I would have to assume that they are, but I guess you'll find out when you get there. It's right near those other options, though, so it wouldn't add too much time if you go and it's already full up or whatever.
Yeah, and I've parked there for sports events, too, and, you know, it's not any more expensive than most of the other places. Some of the hotels have their own parking. They're going to be a little bit more expensive, but I usually pay $20 for an entire day, like 9 in the morning to sometimes 9 in the evening, so 12 hours. Okay, you know, that's fine. It comes out to less than a plane ticket's worth or a hotel's worth.
Oh, for sure.
It's all right. So I think that's it for PSAs. I think the road work was the biggest one that people need to be aware of, so they're not too surprised. Hopefully people listen to this on their flight or their drive. And then use Lyft, I would say, is a good thing, and get down there, park early if you are going to be commuting. So, I mean, there's other survival tips that are worth hitting, but as always, when I talk about that food,
yes, you love to talk about food.
I do.
I know this about you.
Because all my RPG characters are very
always very into
food-driven.
food, very food describing, and always worried about when they're going to eat.
That's just it. That strikes me as one of those things that everyone can relate to. There's not anyone who's like, you know what, I hate eating. I
do eat every day.
See?
Now that I think about it.
It's the great connector
equalizer.
of mankind. The equalizer, yeah. And it's so funny because, like, talking with people on Discord, not just our Discord, not just the Encounter Time Discord, not just the JodoCast Discord, but other ones as well, they're always like, hey, is Steak and Shake still open? I'm like, why are you asking me about Steak and Shake? And I realize, like,
Steak and Shake's great.
It is, but I never think about it that way. I never think about it like, man, it's midnight and we just play games all day. I'm hungry. What are we going to do? But that is the best time for a shake.
Yeah.
And like super thin fries and chili.
Yeah, I was actually just
right
talking
there.
today at work to people about how great Steak and Shake is. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to overhype Steak and Shake if people are coming from a place where they don't have it, because I feel like a trap a lot of people run into with like burger places is, like people who have like are from California, they'll like talk to In-N-Out Burger's the best ever. I had it when I was there.
Texas,
it was
in Texas,
fine.
it's Whataburger.
Yeah, it's like I had In-N-Out Burger and I was like, that's fine. I'd rather go to Five Guys or something, And so sometimes people overhype it. I would say the thing to think about, Steak and Shake is basically very diner. It's a burger place, but it is very like 50s diner. That's what it looks like. That's the vibe. You can get a plate of spaghetti with chili on top and some sort of weird Midwestern Italian fusion. You can get like a Frisco melt. You can get burgers. You can get milkshakes. The real thing I think to think about with it, though, is that it's essentially, because everything in Indiana, if a place serves alcohol, you have to be 21 to get in. Like not like restaurants, but like if a concert venue has beer, you have to be 21 or older to go to that show. Things like that. So Steak and Shake is essentially a bar for teenagers. So if you grow up in Indiana, it's like the only place you can go after 10 p.m. any night most of the places in Indiana people grow up. That's why everyone here has like so many people have like a diehard connection to it. Because to me, it was just like every single weekend we were there at like 2 a.m. because it was like, well, we can go here, we can go walk around Walmart. So let's have milkshakes. It's definitely good though. Their milkshakes are good. Their burgers are good.
They really
it's cheap too. It's also really cheap. Like you can get like
I was gonna say
a burger and fries and a shake for, that would probably be like $8, $9. So, and it's right there. So if you're looking for cheap, greasy food, it's pretty good. It is a chain, it's nothing like super homegrown, but it has a fond place in my heart.
Another couple that I am always, I'm very, very interested in why people bring it up as to be like, I'm going to GenCon, and then I'm going to go to, I've already spent money on convention tickets. I've spent money on a hotel. I've spent money on a flight. And they're like, I'm going to spend money buying new board games. And then they plan to go to the super expensive steak places that we have downtown. I'm like, why? Why?
Because they're going all out, man. This might be like their 1 week vacation for the year,
It's true. And I guess for me, someone like, it's always there. So it's never a top pick because it's just a really expensive steak place.
Yeah, we're a little spoiled with it because it's just here.
Yeah, it's just here.
It's like people that, like live in New York City and you're like, oh, we're going down to like Times Square. And they're like, I've never been there. Just because when it's available to you, it doesn't seem that exotic anymore.
That's true. But I'm not saying it's bad. It's just expensive. And to me, it's just like, you've already spent and you're going to spend more money. Go to Steak and Shake. Get the, $5 steak burger.
Yeah, have them throw it in a bag and then take it back into the table and play more board games. But
exactly.
Yeah, St. Elmo's is very good, actually. I went for the first time, speaking of that, like just 2 years ago or whatever. Was the first time I'd ever been there, and it is very good. I will say, like, almost all their like sides and appetizers are the main things I really, really like there. The entrees are just, very nice steakhouse food.
Yeah,
but their
it's a
like
steak.
Shrimp cocktail is like the cliche, that's like what they're known for.
Oh yeah, and that super spicy cocktail sauce.
It's worth experiencing, I would say, because it's like, this cocktail sauce is insane. It like makes you feel like your whole head is being cleared out. And they're oddly enough, the thing that I crave most from there sometimes is their creamed spinach, which sounds super old-timey and gross probably to some people, but it's so extremely good that I think about it regularly. So you could just go to the bar and be like, bring me a cream spinach and you could eat for cheap.
I'm not gonna lie, a dish of cream, like I'm sure it's like a silver dish too.
It is
a silver dish of cream spinach and a martini sounds really good to me, but I'm a weirdo.
Heck yeah, no, I would eat that. We'll have to do that this year. Martinis and cream
spinach
night.
I've never been, so maybe I owe it to myself to go to St.
I can't even
Elmo's.
Imagine how busy it would be, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll peek our head in.
But they do lunch bags, as I recall. Like you can get like basically a window service of a steak slider or something like that for $10. Like a gourmet bag sandwich.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a super old restaurant too. It's just cool to like see the outside of, or even if you get a chance to go inside, it's just kind of cool from a historical standpoint for Indy. And
we're hitting all the meats. It's way more meats and it's way better meats than Arby's, but we got more meat coming your way, and that's Fogo de Chao, another one that people are like, hey, is that still open? I might go this year. I'm like, yeah, I've been there. It's good. But again, like, dinner is $50 a person, but you do get all of the meat you can possibly put into your body.
Yeah, Fogo de Chao is like a fun, it's like a gimmicky place. It's like a Brazilian steakhouse where it's all you can eat steak. You have like a little card you flip over to be like, green light, bring me more beef for my face. And I went once and it was good. I had a fun time, but it's kind of like the medieval times of steakhouses. Like, hey, go once, eat 4 fillets and then go home and just die and fart and poop for 3 days after. It's fun, but maybe save it for your last night.
That's a good call.
Depending on how much meat you plan to eat and how maybe much you normally eat. Because I feel like if I went there, it'd be very bad for my body.
Yeah, I'm sure people that work downtown, because if you go for lunch, it's $25 a person, which that's pretty good. Like, that's expensive for lunch, but yeah, it's steak and lamb and chicken and sausage and pork and this and that, and even their stupid salad bar is good. And so we transition from cheap burgers to super expensive steak to super cheap pizza, and the only reason I bring up hot box pizza, because personally, I do not like it, but it is the pizza partner of GenCon, and it will be readily available to anybody and everybody. So if you are staying in your hotel and you don't want to leave and you just want to get pizza delivered, that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, Hotbox is terrible. I'm just going to
glad you agree. I'm glad I wasn't just like insulting your favorite pizza of all time.
No, Hotbox is, if there are people that are like, yeah, Hotbox, I don't wish to know them. It is pizza, which is what I'll say. Pizza is kind of, one of those any port in a storm foods. All pizza is pizza, so that's good. But it's, I would say, low bottom tier, C tier pizza.
Oof, yeah. I think C tier is generous for Hotbox. But yeah, it's going to be readily available. I've got some personal favorites, and as I'm looking at my list, it's a long list. So it's
sizable.
I was like, I'll have like a top 5, and it's like a top 15. Probably a lot of the ones that I mentioned before, and what I tried to do this time, because I think last year we talked a lot about like get out of the area, Uber down to, take the other Uber down to Fountain Square or Broad Ripple. And, those seem like reasonable suggestions. But for other folks who are just like, I don't want to do that. I'm willing to walk, but I'm not willing to just go, take a transport to an unknown neighborhood and maybe find something. So I tried to limit myself to walking distance, but there's still a lot. Breakfast, Cafe Patachou. I challenge anyone to find a better place. If you want like a giant stack of pancakes, you're not going to get that there, but I can't think of any giant stack of pancake places in downtown.
It's a great breakfast or brunch place. You get really good omelets. Their cinnamon toast is awesome.
Oh, I just had some the other day.
Yeah, really good coffee. You can just like get in and grab a mug when you get there. Yeah, I think like their motto or whatever is they want to be like a student union for adults. Like it has it has like a very college, place you'd go and grab like a primo version of like wake up at college before class and you're going to go eat with your meal plan kind of vibe. I do like it a lot though. It's kind of like our go-to place for sure.
Yeah, I wish that the Patachou company had a meal plan, because I would just eat like at all their places.
Yeah, you pay them like an annual.
Yeah,
like $5,000 a year. You can eat as many mornings as you'd like.
Well, and my next suggestion
and it's like a student loan too. It's like they just charge you a real low interest rate. And
exactly, this sounds great. I should get with them on this. My next pick is Napolese, which is owned by the Patachou company.
Oh, I did not know that.
And it's a gourmet pizza place. And talking about good pizza, this is my absolute 100% favorite fancy pizza. You can get like, sausage and pepperoni here, but it's going to be next level. And they don't give you like a basket of bread at the beginning. They give you a dish of olives, and I can just like eat the whole dish, and then they'll bring me more. I think I went through 3 dishes of olives one time.
I could eat like a whole can of olives. Like you could give me any sort of olives and I'd eat all of them. Olives are great.
I didn't realize you were an olive fan. That's good to know. I'll have to fight you.
Big into olives.
For the olives. All right.
We'll have to go and see if there's a limit to how many times they will fill the olives up.
I know they got a bucket. I know they come in a big bucket full of brine and olives. So
I want it to be like a Texas Roadhouse, like peanut bucket. It's like a huge bucket with like just like 15 pounds of olives in it. And there's just pits all over the floor and honky tonk music playing.
Oh goodness, that does sound glorious.
That's my restaurant I'm going to open.
So yes, it's fancy pizza. It's a bit more expensive, but I mean, hey, if you're willing to go to St. Elmo's, you can go to Napolese. And then right down the street from all this, and this is all like less than a 5-minute walk, I'd say at this point. Claddagh Irish Pub. It's an Irish pub. It's got fish and chips. It's got burgers. It's got soccer and rugby on TV. It's got Guinness. It's right there. It's good. And the one on the north side closed not too long ago, so I have a soft spot for all Irish/British places, as I will cover down the list. Yats and Dagwoods are further north, but I think they're worth talking about.
Yeah, Yats is probably my favorite place. I mean, when I talk to people in terms of like an indie place, when I talk to people that are like, oh, I'm going to be an indie, where should I go? I'm always just like, Yats. It's like the perfect, it's the kind of place that I also like to find and go when I'm visiting towns I'm not from, like cities I'm not from, because it's a local place. I started in Indy, although the closest location isn't the very first one, but I mean, it started in Indianapolis proper. And it's, a Cajun Creole place. It's like dirt cheap, so extremely good. Like I used to eat there multiple times a week in college. Just like a complete little homegrown, like very hole in the wall kind of place. Easy to overlook, but like, yeah, most people you talk to from around the area are like, oh yeah, this is great. Like everybody loves it. You just get basically garlic bread, rice, and they just put your choice of big thing from a pot on top. So it's gumbo one day, you know, they change the menu every day, but they always have a few standouts like red beans and rice, chili cheese etouffee, stuff like that. So it's great. And it's also like $7 a plate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which, yeah, in case you can tell, I like to eat places that are good and cheap.
And you know what? I think that's relevant to the visitors. I'd
rather spend my money on, you know, another role-playing game book.
Exactly. And those ain't cheap most of the time.
No, they aren't.
Dagwoods is my all-time 100% undisputed champion favorite sandwich place. And I think our gaming group, when I took y'all there the first time, I'm not sure y'all believed the hype.
Well, yeah, like something about the style of like the signage, the marketing, like, I don't know, you know, the vibe that it gave me from a external perspective. I was like, we'll see. But this doesn't look great to me. But it is awesome, yeah. We've definitely been there a few times, breaks from long D&D days and stuff, and it's pretty awesome sub place. You know, like when you're thinking like Italian sub, get the biggest one, get the whatever the classic is. That's just what I get, whatever the one is, and it's pretty awesome.
And it's more expensive. I'm not gonna lie, but hey, all you visitors who are like, I'm gonna go to Fogo de Chao, you set the bar. You set the bar that high, so I'm not gonna hold back.
It's not $45. It's not a $45 sub.
No,
we should set the expectation. I'm talking like a $15 sub, maybe.
Yeah, but your stomach will remember that, like a Telltale game. You will not forget that sandwich.
Your stomach will remember this.
I'm going to go through the rest of the list quick because they cover a lot of the same territory. Rathskeller, German restaurant, very old school, like Milwaukee. Think Milwaukee German restaurant, beer garden outside,
Very
probably
cool
live
building.
music. Say again?
Very cool building.
Oh yeah, it's
in the
it's actually a
Athenaeum.
historical building.
Yeah, very cool old historical building. It's a really cool setting. Definitely a good place to go if you want to drink.
And they have a cool little coffee place there too.
They do, yeah. Coat Check Coffee. It's actually, I think it's probably one of the top 3 best coffee places in probably like all of Central Indiana. It's extremely good. You'll get really, really good coffee. They have amazing croissants and stuff if you go there one morning before GenCon, but they'll sell out. And their lattes and latte art and stuff is all awesome. So it's a great place to sit too if you need some, time to read or zone out before you go into your day of gaming.
And I guarantee you that's one of the places that won't be jam-packed full of other visitors. It might be full of locals, but probably not visitors. St. Joe's Brewery, which is a little bit east way. Some of these are a little bit east of Convention Center, but easily walkable. It's a local brewery, really good. Beer, burgers, sports on TV. Gets a little bit busy. It's in an old Catholic cathedral, so it has a very cool aesthetic going on. It's very respectful if you're worried about that. Chatham Tap is their associated bar. That is also on Mass Ave, which we've talked about many times in the past. Nine Irish Brothers is a local from Lafayette, so if you want to like talk about, I saw that Purdue sweater in Stranger Things, it's like, Purdue, Nine Irish Brothers and all that, so it's another Irish place, go there. World of Beer, another beer place. I can't really say the phrase, I like beer anymore, because, what's his name, Supreme Court guy ruined that for all of us.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. World of Beer, super good. Like, one of the best burgers in recent memory. Ralston's, another same kind of thing. Microbrews and like higher end pub food. Bakersfield on Mass Ave. Doesn't sound like it should be, but it's a deluxe, like higher end taco place.
It's very, very good, actually. Yeah. I went about a year ago to that for the first time, and yeah, they have some of the kind of wildest combinations of things on tacos, things you wouldn't probably ever find anyplace else, but they're super good. So it's definitely a good place to go. They're like street tacos too, so you can get like 3 or 6 of them, and you can, you could try like 5 different combinations of these tacos for not very much money.
And that one, like I said, it's a higher end one. But then the next one on my list is, I don't want to say lower end because it makes it sound bad, but it's called the Tamale Place. And this is actually located in the Indianapolis City Market, which is a downtown, like it's been there forever. Big, I don't know what this building used to be, but it's a big, like open air. Think of like, I don't know how to describe it accurately. Like an old school.
Yeah, it's like an old big market with a lot of kiosks. And is it in Union Station?
Well, see, I always used to think that they were one and the same, but now I'm not so sure. I think it's just an old building at this point. It looks like it might have been part of the train system, because it's very evident when you go downtown how big the train like depot, the train system used to be, because so many of those buildings are converted. They kept them, but then they use them for other things now. So the Indianapolis City Market is phenomenal.
Yeah, and Tamale Place is super good too. It's like the stuff in the market is sort of a satellite to their main thing that's more over on the west side, their main like restaurant or whatever. But yeah, everything I've had there is awesome. Just like handmade tamales, and they have really good tacos. I don't know if, I'm assuming they serve those also at the City Market location.
I would assume
get, like,
so, yeah.
Beef tongue taco and like killer stuff. At least last time I was there.
Yeah, I've not been to the one at the City Market. I've only been to the West Side one. But like if you make the decision, I was going to say mistake, but I'll just call it a decision to order like the large nachos, you better find help. I mean, eating it, not like mental help, but it's gonna
No,
be.
you've made the right decision mentally. It's just a logistics issue at that point, is what you're saying.
Exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. But there's so many things at City Market. Like, if you want to find Indian food, you want to find Mexican, you want to find another like cool coffee place, you want to find another brewery, you want to find Mediterranean food, you want to find gyros. It's all gonna be at the City Market, and that's another spot that I guarantee you is not going to be full of visitors and tourists. It's going to be full of locals. The only other one that I had on my list, and just because I needed to throw in another pizza selection, is Giordano's. If you don't live in Chicago and you want Chicago pizza, like real Chicago pizza, that's really your only choice. I know Chicagoans will take issue with whether or not that one's the best, or Gino's East, or Illuminati's. I'm a Illuminati's supporter, but it's what we got.
Yeah, not a lot of choices for that, and when you're talking downtown, that's the one choice you got. So, but hey, deep dish pizza, like I said, I mean, it's an insult to even put Giordano's in the hot box discussion, but
exactly.
If pizza, like I said, any port in a storm, right? Like any pizza is better than no pizza. Any deep dish pizza is definitely better than no deep dish pizza. So it will still have a lot of meat and cheese and be like 6 inches thick and make you fall asleep.
Just thinking about like the sauce and the cheese and the sausage and the buttery crust. It's just like, I want to go get some right now. I will make the drive to the North Side one to go get some.
Yeah.
So I just said a dozen freaking places. Were there any, and you had good thoughts on all of them. Did you have any others that are like, no, these are the ones you need to go to?
I mean, Yats is on Mass Ave, so if you want to take a little bit longer of a stroll, if it's a nice day, a little bit longer of a walk, I would definitely recommend Yats. That's my main place. I mean, even if just from like visiting the city, I actually just went someplace this last weekend that's right down in that same area, like within 5 minutes, like everything else, called a Mexican restaurant called Nada, like Nada, that was very good also. Pretty inexpensive, really cool, like decor inside, and it's that same sort of street tacos, and you can get like churros with caramel sauce, and it was very good. So pretty cool, sort of a more recent place down there, but I'd recommend that too, just because it's on my mind.
Yeah, I saw that on the map. Well, a few times I've been like, show me tacos downtown, and I've never tried it, so I may have to do that this weekend. And of course, like in the past years, we've talked about the different neighborhoods, and I mentioned it earlier, but keeping it close by, I think that's a pretty good list. We didn't just talk about meat places or beer places. So, and of course, you go around a corner, you're gonna find like an Indian place, a Chinese place. There's plenty of little out of the way places, donut places, Jack's Donuts, right around the corner from the convention center. We just named a few snippets, some highlights, but you walk 5 feet, you're gonna find a new place. I was trying to find the coffee place that you guys had me stop at, or we stopped at one time before a D&D session, that was just off IUPUI campus, but I couldn't find it when I was doing research. Are they still open?
I don't know. If you couldn't find it, I haven't been over there in a while myself.
There was some latte that you guys really, really liked. I think I just got a cappuccino.
Oh, are you thinking Mojo's?
Maybe. I think so. Was right next to one of the
Mojo's might have
store.
Closed, actually.
Oh, well, you know what?
I don't know. Nope, it's here.
Okay, good.
Give me a second. Oh, wait, no. This is showing me one in Kansas.
Oh.
Why would you show me one in Kansas? Do you think I'm in Kansas, Google?
Not anymore.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it closed, Mojo's. So it is not there anymore. Rest in peace.
Yeah. In fact, that's another good segue, because I did want to touch on some in memoriam restaurants that probably saw a lot of activity during Gen Con, that if people are coming back, if they're like, oh, every year I go to this place, because it was already mentioned in the Discord, Scotty's, one of the places that is like, they changed the menu.
It was the Pathfinder Cafe or Tavern or whatever, yeah.
Oh, man. And
Paizo made them have a special menu, and they handed out dice and stuff.
Scotty's was good. It was pretty standard.
Better than, I'd say better than average American place.
But they gone. Every location, I think, is gone. And they had lots of locations. So, yeah, unfortunate. Rest in peace, Scotty's. Another one that had been there, when I did the research for this part of it, what places closed what restaurants closed in Indianapolis this year, some of these have been there for 20 plus years. Shula's, related to Don Shula of the Miami Dolphins, was at the Westin, which is one of those hotels connected to the convention center. That's gone. That just closed this year. Got replaced by something else, but I mean, that's one of those ones that probably saw tons of activity. Hard Rock Cafe. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I'm sure, again, they saw a lot of business.
Yeah, very touristy place.
Yeah.
They apparently did not see enough business.
Apparently, although I've always been dubious or curious as to how any of them stay open.
Yeah, other than the ones that are in Vegas or something, like a super heavy tourist market.
And one that surprised me, Palomino.
Yeah,
they
a
closed.
nicer sort of Italian place.
That was very surprising, because I always hear for our anniversary we're going to Palomino, but I don't know. You just never can tell in the restaurant business. So little violin.
Tiny violin for Palomino.
Sing these ones out into the gray havens. And one that I thought was closed more recently, but apparently it was probably last year or so. Tilted Kilt. No rest in peace for Tilted Kilt. That place is gross.
Apparently everyone else thought so as well.
Yeah, it's even in the boobs and beer market, I feel like Tilted Kilt is bottom of the barrel.
It's a little too much.
Yeah.
Or not enough.
Or, you know what? Yeah. Either way, just don't... if you see one, walk the other way. And there is not one here. So, thank your lucky stars. The only other food caveat that is a little unfortunate is that Donuts and Dragons, which has apparently made national news.
It definitely was a viral thing on tabletop, Twitter.
Yeah.
When someone just from here saw the sign go up, because they have a very good logo. And yeah, it's just it's one of those kind of board game.
It is a very good logo.
Bars that has opened. They're going to sell donuts, and they're going to have beer in the evenings and coffee, and let you come play D&D there, or whatever other board games. It's a place like that. But yes, apparently it is not going to be open in time for Gen Con, which was their original goal.
Yeah.
So I could see people from out of town being like, oh, it's where that Donuts and Dragons place is. We should try to get there. Just because it definitely went around online.
Yeah, it did. And you know what? If it got more people, again, like I said, get out of downtown, go to other parts. Because its location is a very good location to get to other restaurants and get to other... there's a game store practically across the street. If you're like, oh... I need new card sleeves, or I need some new dice. Because you always need new dice. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
That one set, those eight sets you have won't work.
Yeah. Just ask.
You're playing Call of Cthulhu now, so you have to have a green set. Your orange ones won't work. Especially
ones that you can barely read. You have to take a magnifying glass to read the runes on
If the numbers don't look like Eldritch Ruins, what are you doing?
So come back to Indy in September to go to Donuts and Dragons. Maybe we'll see you there. I think for food, I think we kept it as succinct as humanly possible, but we touched on the topics that I really wanted to hit on, some of the more perplexing ones and some of the ones that I think people should try. I always feel compelled to try to do some last-minute survival tips, especially for GenCon. If you are someone who is a con pro, which is a little oxymoron I thought of earlier today, and
Yeah.
think about it, people. Con pro.
Very good.
Then you know how to do this. You know how to con. But I think these are always good reminders. And some of these are Gen Con specific. We just talked all about food, but you know what? You don't gotta pay a lot for food. Stop at Walmart or use Amazon, or no, don't use Amazon unless you absolutely have to. I was gonna say use Amazon Now or whatever it's called to have them deliver it to your hotel. But if you can go without using Amazon, I think at this point we've all we're all in agreement that you shouldn't. But stop at
Yeah, you can find it nearby.
stop at Target or somewhere along those lines. Get yourself water. Or if you got a reusable water bottle, even better. Go to your local grocery store. Go to Kroger and get. Like I always bring Cliff Bars with me, and you know what? If I have a decent food for breakfast and I'm full through the day and have a Cliff Bar in the middle or two, to go with my coffee, and then come dinner time, it's time for more real food. So lunch doesn't have to be expensive. Talking about refillable water bottles. Bring like a Nalgene or what's the other one? Colgar.
Yeah, a lot of people have like Yeti ones now.
Oh yeah. I always forget about those. At the ICC, the Indianapolis Convention Center, there aren't just like water fountains or bathroom sinks to fill at. There are actual bottle filling stations. There are several of them. You do kind of gotta know where they are because they're not going to appear on a map, but there's one in the bathroom alcove right across from the door that leads to Paizo/Pathfinder on the show floor. There's one second floor, what would that be, the west end of the second floor near the Wabash Ballroom, which is where, again, Pathfinder Society. I'm going to reference everything with Pathfinder
Society. Yeah. It's kind of like a huge footprint of the show, so.
It is. And you know what? I do love them. I love them as a company, even if maybe their product's not my super duper favorite. I love and respect them as a company. So there's one right there, and I could swear there's another one somewhere. It's eluding me. Oh, it's at one of the hotels. It's at the JW Marriott on the second floor. You can find one there too. But you don't have to drink garbage water. So bring a Yeti or Nalgene or whatever. Every hotel has a Starbucks. If one line is too busy, there are at least 3 others. So, yeah. It speaks for itself. Some take the cards, the Starbucks cards, and some don't. So,
yeah, that's the thing. Some are licensed stores. They're in hotels. There's also one on like Monument Circle. Yeah, there's plenty of Starbucks options for sure. If that's your jam.
It's certainly mine, but that's because I feed my habit. That's my drug of choice. Utilize the mall. It's right there. You get some mall food. You get, there's bathrooms there if you need a non-convention bathroom. If you need whatever, it's the mall.
If you have to get a Cinnabon right now,
it's true.
They've got it. You need a pretzel to put on that Cinnabon? They've got it.
And then a pizza from Pizza di Roma to put on top of that pretzel. which is on top of the Cinnabon.
Yeah, if that's like a thing you need, you can get it. You can probably go to like a Spencer's Gift and buy like an offensive T-shirt as well. These are all the options afforded to you by the Circle Center Mall. Is there still that arcade place on the top floor?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that there's like a place you can go play
is.
DDR and like not Siphon Filter. Is Siphon Filter the sniper game? What's the sniper game?
Yeah, no. Siphon Filter was like a Metal
Siphon Filter
Gear
was like
wannabe.
knockoff Metal Gear where the guy ran like he had like a carrot
Oh
up his butt or
crap!
something.
What was it? I know what you mean though. But
Silent Scope.
there
Is
you
what
go.
I'm thinking of. Yeah, get yourself a $20 card. Go play some Silent Scope in a foreign city to you. I mean, it is weird that place still exists, so that's kind of cool. But
Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
They probably have like Tekken 5 still going, so check it out. Be smart, wear good walking shoes. I mean, if you want to, if you're cosplaying, like, good on you for wearing those 15-inch heels or whatever they are for whatever costume it is.
But also bring good walking shoes for all the times you're not cosplaying.
Yes. I mean, it's just smart. Don't necessarily wear like your Birkenstock sandals with socks, because that defeats the purpose, and it's not going to be as comfortable as you think it is. Make time to just play. You can fill up your schedule with seminars and tournaments and stuff, but low stress gaming with friends, and go with friends. Like I think I went to a couple Gen Cons when you and the rest of the gang couldn't go, and it was good, but it's just so much better with friends. And I guarantee you, even if you can't take them like by the hand and make the whole trip together, you've probably got people you've met online who are gonna be there.
Yeah, a ton of people, a few other Discords I'm in and stuff, like the people are using that as an opportunity to be like, hey, we chat every single day on here. Let's all meet at Gen Con. I know a few other people from the Jodo Discord are going. And yeah, I mean, just it's a good chance to make those connections. I do think there are a lot of opportunities to play games, even if you don't really know anyone else there. But it does take, you have to be the kind of person, and maybe you aren't outside of Gen Con, but I would say Gen Con is generally a good environment to where you can be a little more comfortable, being that guy who played Scythe with us. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Like you can go out of your way and definitely just join groups. And, anytime I play anything there, it's always the more the merrier. So that's awesome. But yeah, it's not quite the same as having, core group of a few people that you always know you can get a game in or go around. But definitely Gen Con itself is structured. I mean, even part of the reason they do like the thing that's very overwhelming initially of like tickets and events and tracking all that and buying that ahead of time is like they want you to play games when you're there. They don't want you to wait in line. That's why like all the panels, all that stuff is like ticketed, because they want you to know before you come to Gen Con, are you going to it or you're not? That way, if you're not, you can fill it with other stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's the main thing I would recommend is like just try to play as much stuff as you want to play as you can. Because like if I can leave those 4 days being like, wow, I tried like 15 new games, that's that will be way more of a investment for me than just being like, well, I waited in line to demo one thing and I saw the one other thing I liked, and then I just kind of hung out the rest of the time.
I did do a weather check. It's going to be mid to upper 80s with about 50% humidity and some cloudiness. And I would say, even just going by the torrential downpour we had earlier, you should bring an umbrella, because Indiana weather, it nuts.
It is, yeah.
And then
you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you really don't. Indiana weather is like a box of chocolates. Sometimes you're covered in toothpaste, and other times someone's dumping nuts on your head. Nuts on your head.
Yeah.
Transitions. The last thing I'd say, besides don't forget your badge, is stock up on podcasts. Because if you are doing an Uber, or if you are driving, if you're flying, or if you're moving your body in a direction, you may want to listen to something. and podcasts are great. And maybe Christian can tell us where you can find some premium deluxe RPG action.
Well, I spend a lot of time making the one that I make and that you're on, so that's the main one I'd say, right? Like I said, we have a Call of Cthulhu thing going on Encounter Time. Encounter Time's a good one. I know you like Critical Hit, though. That's one that I don't make. I know you like a lot.
Yes, I do.
Critical Role is obviously their thing is already sold out. They're doing a live show at GenCon, or technically just outside of GenCon, but at the same time. Always a good one as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that those kind of things, anything that's like long form, anything where you've got a lot of hours of a thing. So in case you get caught up in something or, you're meeting somebody, but it's not for a while, that you can listen to is good. But yeah, I mean, just dive into whatever you're coming to Gen Con for. If you're coming to Gen Con for Magic the Gathering, download some I'm sure there are great Magic the Gathering podcasts, even though I don't listen to them.
There are some very intriguing ones. Like, just from a straight design perspective, there are some Magic the Gathering podcasts that are crazy cool to listen to.
Yeah, so just kind of like, I think it's fun just to spend that time completely like submerging yourself in whatever the stuff is that you love about it. So you can extend that to everything else.
And in the interest of us not talking for too much longer and you getting to bed because you got to work and I'm still working until Tuesday night, when it's
going to be a long first half of this week.
Ugh, yes it is. And I want to get this show out as quickly as possible, and I don't think we got to do much editing on this one, so thanks for that. We're going to wrap this sucker up, and hope you find us on, or hope you follow us on Twitter and, well, I guess Twitter, not really Facebook. We don't really do the Facebook. We do the Twitter. You can follow JodoCast. Follow EncounterCast. It's EncounterCast, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the JodoCast and EncounterCast. You'll be able to follow our exploits on there for sure. And yeah, thank you, Christian, for being willing to jump on here after working and then exercising and probably heading to bed soon because you got to get up and do it all over again.
Yes, but soon I'll be at Gen Con playing games and reading RPG books and all will be fine. So it was worth it. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. We will talk with you soon and see you at Gen Con. Goodbye.